Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, did report that John Herdman and TFC will be. We don't know that. We've reached out to other people. We can't confirm it, but Steve Simmons says TFC and John Herdman will be parting ways. So if he parts ways, his staff parts ways, correct? Usually that's how it works. So whether or not there is justice in the world or fairness in the world, things sometimes do work itself out. And if Steve Simmons' reporting is correct, then John Herdman, Jason DeVos, part of John Herdman's team at TFC, will be no longer there, which is maybe fair. I don't know. It's a different team. It's a different. I don't know. It's a weird one because we've talked about how professional. I mean, we talked about Bill Belichick and him and Tom Brady getting caught for Deflategate. God, it's a bad sex movie. But it's a different play. There are different rules professionally. And is it because MLSE, speaking of, I saw MLSE's new boss, Keith Pelly, last night at an event. And I was taller than him, just so everyone knows.
Such a weird flex.
You're quite tall. You're not short, so it doesn't mean that he's short. You're like 6 foot.
No, well, I'm 5'11" and a bit, but yes. And with my Blundstone, 6 feet, I measure up to Jimmy in his bare feet.
But Costanza wearing his Timberlands everywhere. Are you heightening?
I'm heightening. Me and George Costanza. But there is a different conversation. Is it because it looks bad on MLSE and TFC for him not to get any repercussions, especially with FIFA coming? MLSE is playing a big role in FIFA, right? For the World Cup. MLSE is front and center for all of that. They're, so it kind of puts them in a real tough position, even though they may not have gotten rid of him or will get rid of him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Craig, what do you think?
The CSA have jurisdiction over John Herdman, and the third party could come down, and because he's coaching in Canada, obviously that would be a problem. If they see it as a distraction and an embarrassment and all the above, I could see them making a move at that point. It doesn't look as though John Herdman was very cooperative, obviously, for 4 months, not taking an interview. So it'll be interesting, but there's plenty of things could unfold here still.
Yeah, I think it could be one of those with the CSA where they're thinking, okay, you're the ringleader, you started all this, we're having to deal with it. You've left the CSA, gone to TFC in Major League Soccer, but you're still in Canada, and we can revoke your coaching license, and we're going to get you one way or another, and we're going to ban you in Canada from coaching.
Yeah, that's how they get him. Just because. Yeah. Okay. Because I was asking about that last time. He obviously doesn't work for CSA anymore, but as the governing body in this country, they sanction teams and leagues.
I really think that there would have been a different outcome as far as the drones go and doing that sort of thing. We know different forms of cheating happen all the time. It happens on the pitch every game, but it's the way it was handled by Bev Priestman, by John Herdman as well. If they did it, which looks as though they clearly did, come clean. Just don't throw other people under the bus and lie about it. That's the biggest problem. When you look at like a Bielsa at Leeds United, got caught, got asked about, are you spying on other teams? Yes, I'm spying on other teams. Sorry. They fined him, and people are forgiving. But if you don't come clean and this goes on and on, I think the lying side of things that, it didn't happen at a major event, it wasn't, if you didn't do any of it, as soon as the first press conference you did, you'd be adamant. You'd just be listening. This never happened. And I'm going to cooperate with all the findings and help out as much as I possibly can because this is untrue and it didn't happen. But that wasn't what's happened. And people have, been thrown under the bus, and that's the problem I have. It's not the drones, it's the throwing people under the bus and people that are going to come down for this.
Yeah, you're right, Forrest. And I think too, like just to kind of put a bow on what you and Jimmy have said, I agree with what both of you had to say. But I think that if Canada Soccer does pursue John Herdman, it's less about it being a witch hunt and going after him and getting him for being kind of the ground zero of this drone use as it pertains to spying. But it's more about turning the page and setting a standard and saying this is not acceptable in the way that we want to do business. And so he's made an example of in that regard.
Yeah.
And I would say that the drone element is almost secondary here. It's the culture in place, the pressure on these junior employees. That is the unacceptable part. You know, beyond spying, which, you know, okay, ethically is very, very dubious, but it's not as if it's unheard of in professional sports, right? That could be argued. Oh, Christ, yeah, we did it. It's wrong. But, you know, let's be honest, it is, you know, across sport in some regards. It's that culture that was created, perhaps. That is what is the embarrassing part, right? And in this climate in professional sports, you could be so careful, right, with how people are treated and how they're, you know, respected and the pressures they feel. So that's the embarrassing part. We should mention though that, I mean, listen, Steve Simmons, it was a tweet, I think it was, right? He mentioned that.
There were 2 tweets, I think.
Yeah, it was 2. And Steve's been around for ever in the Toronto sports scene, right? He's polarizing. He's got strong opinions, but he's not a liar, and he's also connected. So, you know, he's insinuating or suggesting that this will happen. It comes from somewhere. He's not just making that up. Right. Whether it happens or not, who knows? But he's not making it up.
I also just remind people, because I don't find this boring. So to the guy who made those comments, I don't find this boring. This is actually pretty cool that we're talking about this right now. So fuck you and you're boring. I love this. But remember also, pardon me?
Maybe it's a burner account or 2.
It might be because it came on as a guest, right? No, what's interesting to me, it was John Herdman who put the tweet out. No, but I was just also thinking about Jesse Marsh's coaching title, MLS head coach of Canada. Remember, like MLS is part of this. That it's very intertwined with Canada Soccer, and people forget that. And so MLSC having TFC under their ownership, being part of FIFA, I think it's starting to tighten around that coaching staff, and I think there will be something done. It just seems like it would happen.
I think if TFC does part ways with John Herdman, I think it's also an opportunity for Keith Pelly to put a stamp on the club as well. Get the right coaching staff in. I know he's got a lot of changes that's happening inside the organization now, because TFC is a focus. They need to get the club back to where it was. So I don't think they'll mind this change that could be coming, because I think it's an opportunity for them to have a clean slate.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, he comes in, he's going to hire a president probably at some point as well. And you know how it is in professional sports, as unfair as it might be. New guy comes in, he wants his own people there. He doesn't want the previous guy's hires, unless they're incredible and they've got these amazing results, right? So Alex Ferguson wasn't going to be fired by the Glazers because he wasn't their guy, for example, right? If you're coming off an unsuccessful season, it makes it a little bit easier as well. It's, yeah. You know what? Tomorrow's Friday. What are you thinking? Late news dump on Friday afternoon?
Is that how it works? You think that's, they go, oh, yeah?
I will just say from, excuse me, a CF Montreal perspective, there's an inordinate amount, or there have been an inordinate amount of press releases at like 4 p.m. on a Friday.
This guy is sacked. And then at 4 o'clock on a Friday in the middle of the summer, right?
It's usually not the good stuff, right?
Right.
You know what is Dubs? It's how clubs and organizations get back at arsehole journalists saying, you know what, we're going to fuck with your weekend. Now
that makes me feel sad, though. I used to work the sportsnet.ca news desk, and I was thinking I worked Thursday to Sunday, so no one's reading any of my stories.
We'll see, you know. Yes, and I'm sorry if you find it boring, but it's still newsworthy and important to talk about.
I didn't find this boring at all. I like that one. Here's another one.
I had a,
Right.
oh, wait,
Oh.
before we go to that one, just a little footnote on it as it pertains to Herdman's role. And maybe this is more a question for Jimmy. Is he just the head coach at TFC, or does he have other titles? Because there was a press release, or there was a hire at the Chicago Fire. I didn't set out for that to rhyme, in MLS, where Greg Berhalter is the new head coach, but he's also director of football. And then they hired a sporting director, and he will report directly to Greg Berhalter, who's the head coach and director of football. So I had a question, kind of like historically at TFC, the way these things have operated. Did Bradley have a role that was similar to that, where he was not only the head coach, but he had a lot of the power in terms of how his roster was constructed? And did Herdman have any of those powers?
No.
I guess?
No, so John Herdman's just a head coach, and then Jason Hernandez is a general manager, and then I think it's Sean Rubio is the technical director.
Okay.
Bradley was a sporting director or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as well as the coach.
He had pretty much control of all of TFC at the time when Bradley was here.
Which worked out very
But
well.
I think what Keith Pellion mentioned before, I don't think he'll hire a president for Toronto FC.
Oh, you don't, eh? Okay.
No.
He'll be he'll just the general manager will answer to him.
Yeah.
What about a director of football or something like that?
Yeah, possibly.
And then Hernandez would answer to them.
Yeah. Well, look, the director of football and the general manager is very, very similar. Very similar.
But you said before, Jimmy, you said often though presidents of organizations will hire a president of the football side, for example, to act as a buffer between them and for the media, if nothing else.
Yeah.
You can never blame them before you get blamed, right?
Yeah.
But you think he wants more efficiencies, shall we say, at the top of the structure there. Okay.